Hello, everyone. It's Tuesday. It's 4 p.m. Eastern, at least. So we're getting together as a community. Welcome to the live events on Mortgage.Community. If you're listening to this on replay, that's awesome. I'd love to get you here live on the event. Welcome to those joining today. Every Tuesday we meet from 4 to 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Unless there's something else going on that's distracting me and taking me away from the community. And we usually have a topic, but this is always a community conversation. So welcome, Kim. Kim, I don't want to, so welcome. We'll just leave it like that. So, sorry, Chris, where's my hello? Like you're totally leaving me hanging. Usually you're in here and you're like, hey, Larry, what's up? So today's topic is all about pipeline views and dashboards. Hey, Kim. Hola. So today's topic is all about pipeline views and dashboards. I'm sure everybody's got pipeline views, and I'm sure everybody's got plenty of users who love to create their own pipeline views and drive us admins kind of wonky when they like, my pipeline view doesn't work, or, hey, how come so-and-so can see this loan, but I can't? Or in one instance, there are, I'm trying not to exaggerate here, but there are 40 personas, and each persona has about 20 pipeline views, and that's not an exaggeration. Those are persona-based pipeline views. So we'll get into, yeah, Kirsten's like, yikes. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. So I'm going to walk through a couple of concepts and feedback to let you know, first of all, it's not just you. It's not just your company. And what it's really looking like for Encompass Web. Again, you're going to hear Encompass Web like word vomit. If you're going to ICE Experience, you'll hear it all over the place. And if you listen to me talk enough, you'll hear me say, if you're not really leveraging, I just said this today on our admin course, Admins Mastering Encompass. I gave, that group is kind of finishing up. There's a bunch of veterans in there. We've got some newcomers to it also, but in the event, I talked about the fact that, as an admin, if you're not diving head first into Encompass Web, you're missing out. You've probably got about another 30 days, maybe 60 on the outside. But if you're not catching up on that or getting ahead of that, you're going to be left behind. Guarantee it. So for those that don't know, Encompass is going through 24.1.0.0 so far. That's going to be dropped into test on March 9th. And I'm going to left my notes out. Beginning of March. And then check the release notes thing I posted on that, on the recordings and the walkthroughs. And then it's coming into production April. So I think it's March 6th, April 9th. For some reason, my brain can't see it clearly. And this is important because there's a ton of changes happening that are not only to desktop, but they're also to the web. One of the biggest changes is splitting apart 3142 into two components. One's going to be humda.x something or other. Again, it's in the release notes. It's in my walkthrough. And that's going to be this new trigger point for ready for application disclosures for that, separated from the 3-day disclosures. Don't know what this is going to look like, but I'm telling everybody who's listening that you need to get your hands on the release notes. You need to talk to your compliance team and work through what this is going to mean on day one. Probably nothing, but maybe not nothing. And for those that are going to be at the ICE Experience, I'm sure it's going to be a lot of conversation around what the intended purpose is. I can tell you that the true intention is to automate initial disclosures. That's where we're headed natively. You don't need any company's third-party plugin for automated disclosures later on this year. That's the reality. So if you were thinking about doing automated disclosures and you're about to sign that contract, hold off just yet. I mean, if you need it now, maybe you do, but it's an expensive thing to have to commit to right now when we are very close. So anyway, we're not here to talk about that. Does anyone have any questions? Does anyone have any troubleshooting they want to go through? Again, these are community meetings. I know you guys usually like to hear me talk, which is crazy. I like to hear what you're banging up against and trying to solve for things. That way I feel like I'm actually doing something. So if you have anything, you can use the chat. That's great. I'm going to give two big plugs out. First of all, if you happen to be going to Lenders One Summit, I'll be there Sunday to Wednesday next week. That's in LA. If you're not going to that, and if you're not part of Lenders One, by the way, they're doing a big promo where it's no application fee for Lenders One. I think it's not that expensive. I think it's $1,500 or something. A lot of benefits. There's a lot of things to, a lot of advantages to joining the Lenders One cooperative. So I would encourage you, if you need a link for it or introduction for it, or want to know more about it, let me know. I'll get you over to the right person. Do a lot of regional events, and they're there really to help you grow and save money ultimately. And then for those going to the ICE events, if you're going, obviously we've got the wrap-up event on Thursday the 21st. That is open to anybody who wants to go from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. local. It's a come as you are. There's no cost for it. It's a way to debrief. And for those that are not going, what I want you to do is join the ICE X24 space in the mortgage stock community, because I'm going to do my best to live stream that whole wrap-up event. This way, for those that are not going, you can take advantage of that. So I'll go ahead and share that on screen here real quick, because what I've done is I've broken out all of the sessions that I'm aware of, at least. I've broken out all those sessions. Here we go. It's not what I want to do. There we go. Broken out all those sessions over here. So you basically have to come over into Mastering Encompass. You might have to scroll to the bottom of this collection of spaces, but find ICE. You can sign up. It's again, it lets you in automatically. But basically, I built in all of the general sessions, everything in here event. So if you know anybody who's not going to ICE, but they still want to feel connected, definitely join the community, definitely join the space. And we're going to have a scavenger hunt. I'm going to incentivize all of us and all of those that are going to all these different breakouts to make sure they're uploading pictures and recordings and notes and collateral, things that we can hang on to forever as a community, because it is an important event, but obviously are what they are. And so there you go. So do that. And then again, the wrap-up event, my goal is to live stream this whole thing, and we can all talk about it collaboratively as a community. So more to come on that. And then the last thing is, of course, I combined, I don't know if anybody knows this, but I combined admins mastering Encompass and users mastering Encompass. You can check out all the videos I posted on that, but it's a super deal for anybody who really wants to understand exactly how to use Encompass like a total ace, and learn everything that you didn't even realize you didn't know. Having said all that, if you're listening to this, that's your cut, Anna. Anybody wants to watch more, please come over to Mortgage Talk Community and we can get together on that. So let's talk about what we came to talk about. I don't see anything in chat, so I guess everybody's hunky-dory. Luba says, speaking of native functionality, has anyone seen or using ICE's fees thing? That's interesting, Luba. Is ICE have a fees thing to compete with Lodestar or Closing Corp? Tell us more. We are all interested in that conversation. This is one of those times where, Black Knight had one, Angie. I did not know that. What was it called, or what is it called? Luba, you're gonna have a homework assignment, and you're going to have to tell us how it went, honest opinion, and what it costs, and everything that you want to share, everything that you're legally allowed to share. I don't know if you're going into an NDA or not. Oh, it's Ernst Reed? That's all it is Ernst? Oh, I can tell you all about Ernst. ATA actually built an integration with Ernst for a client. The client I went out and did a workflow review a couple weeks ago up in New York. Yeah, we actually automated Ernst. Yeah, I didn't realize that was called Ernst. That's what threw me. So thank you, Reed, for speaking up. So Luba, yeah, I could tell you all about Ernst. The reality, the crazy part is when it comes to, again, automation for disclosures, I don't know what's going to be included. It wouldn't surprise me if Ernst was the first one integrated with that, because that's what happens. I don't know. Lodestar, here's the deal. First of all, Lodestar service is second to none, and that's a big deal. Second of all, I would tell you that you definitely want to do a comparison. But I don't know if it's apples to apples there. I would have you check that out, Luba. And again, give the community back some feedback, like what you saw valuable in Ernst or anybody else, and what you saw valuable in Lodestar. That would be my 2 cents. Fair enough. Thank you. So pipeline views, dashboards. Over under. Who thinks they know how many pipeline views they have? Because you won't be able to count them. This is going to be just a hunch. And the reason why you won't be able to count them is because it's not something that you can easily report on unless you have a cool little tool like, where'd that sucker go? I just totally set that up and failed. So Field Analyzer. So if you guys don't know anything about this, this is a tool that ATI built, and I've been building on top of it because it gives you the results for, I'll just put in here, contains field 19. If I could type correctly with my keyboard, equals 19. So when you do this, like I can see how many pipeline views I've got that has that field. So in this particular case, I only have 2, and these are persona-based pipeline views. My best information for you when we're looking at the settings is when you go through these personas. Now you can go through and you can take inventory, right? Of if you go to the pipeline tab and you can kind of just scroll through each of these personas, and you can count them if that's in your important list. The reason why this is an important conversation for admins is because a lot of times when you walk in as an admin, you're kind of dealing with something from before. You don't know who the other admin was. You don't know what the concepts were. And what ends up happening a lot is users who are savvy will go create their own pipeline views. Now, I don't know if everybody remembers, but a few versions ago, we got the ability to disable the persona from creating new pipeline views. Who's disabled that? I'm really curious. There's about 29 of us on this call today. Is anybody actually unchecked that box in the pipeline tab so that those users that have that persona cannot create pipeline views anymore? I'm really curious. So Luba, you checked that. Okay. So Luba's odd man out. Luba, how did you get away with that? Like, if they need a pipeline view, Kirsten, we'll get to dashboards in a second. And Kirsten's working on pipeline lockdowns. So this is kind of what I want to talk about. Like if you disable their ability, what you're doing is you're enabling your ability to administrate, which I fully support. The reality of making that happen though is tricky. And a lot of it has to do with your ability to support. So Katie says, we provide a basic pipeline view for each persona. We allow users to create their own. If they want more specifics, and they just use as a baseline. Well, Katie, I feel you. Jolene, you're doing the same thing, and I feel you, and you guys might have a really good group. The challenge, of course, is this. So, we all have this not accessible column, and this is obviously coming from the reporting database. So how do you know, like truthfully, how do you know what everybody's able to put on their pipeline view unless you took inventory of everything that's not accessible, especially if you're not the first admin? And the answer is going to be you don't, unless you've actually documented it. And this is really important. I hear stories every year of different companies getting into problems, trouble, human resource issues, even lawsuits, because you had somebody putting something on a pipeline view that they weren't supposed to be, and they generated an Excel sheet, or they took even a screenshot with their phone, and then they grabbed the information and they did something that they wanted to, that you didn't expect. So one of the fail safes you have here is if you serve them pipeline views, you never have to worry about this, because as an administrator, you control what's on there. So when you get into this concept of delivering a pipeline view to a bunch of users, I get the idea of the baseline, and I get the idea of letting people do their own thing. And Luba's response in chat, I think, is extraordinarily professional at any level size of a company, which it means to say that I think it's prudent. It helps achieve compliance issues. It helps achieve risk issues for data leakage or any PII violations or NPI violations. You'd be surprised. Again, we're all like traveling, right? If you let anybody go on a laptop and they open up their Encompass and they have pipeline on there and they have information, you don't know who's around that person. So this is one of those things where when I talk about pipeline views, this isn't just about making things easier. This is also about remembering that as an administrator, you're responsible for data integrity and data security. Whether you realize it or not, that's part of your job. So this is one of those things that I want to talk about to the group. There's a bunch of people who didn't respond. If you go look in your settings, you probably haven't unchecked it. Now, if you did uncheck it, but not in every persona, now you have an issue with possible multiple persona syndrome, which we talked about last week, where remember, personas are the aggregated yes. So if I'm told no in 5 of these guys, but I've got the 6th one and it's checked, I got it. Can't stop me. So, everything ties to everything else, like you've always heard me talk about. And so on this particular one, be mindful of that. Now, having said that, when it comes to creating this baseline, Katie and Jolene, curious, have you created a persona that is your pipeline storage place so you can use that for your baselines for all your other personas? So in other words, you create it as a persona strictly just to hold all of your pipeline views that you can then go into anything else. And of course, you can come over here and click add and then create from anyone here. Anybody done that? Luba's like, wait, you could do that? Yes, Luba, you could do that. Yeah. And that's kind of how that Jolene does that. It's a tactic when you're dealing with a lot of pipeline views that are shared between personas. It's a great way to be able to move and copy. Yeah, Katie, I would say that if you wanted to create a persona, again, that's used, like here's protect, do not assign to user, you could do pipeline view, home base, do not assign. Pick a way to layer it. Yeah, and like Jolene said, it's great to get a good basis and then edit it down to what the actual persona I'm adding it to it needs. I think it's fine. Again, every company is different. You're the administrator. I would just encourage you to make sure that if you're doing that, that the user has, they don't have the ability to create pipeline views. They obviously, by doing that, it locks them into the persona-based versus personal-based. So Luba says, I wish you could impersonate a persona as an admin. Well, you can, Luba. All you have to do is just go into your account and just give your account that persona. I'm not following what you're saying, Luba. Help me understand that better, please. So Candace adds, another thing is to put on the project list. Oh, it's another thing to add on the project list. I haven't even looked at what view starting. Candace, you got like a year. Like I give you a year to get everything organized. I'm curious, Candace, for the group. So those that don't know, Candace is in a new company. She's figuring things out, which is great. Congratulations, Candace. What are you using to keep yourself organized as you go through and do your technology review? And I'm assuming you're doing a workflow review. What are you using, like a OneNote or a spreadsheet? Or if you don't want to say, you don't have to, but I'm just curious if you'll volunteer that. Katie says, it does make me think to go look through the not accessible. Yeah, you should go look through that. I'm telling you, like in here, right? We usually think about sensitive things like price, but you should also think about things like social security number. Like I went through here and I found, I don't know if it's in this one, it'll be under SSN or something, right? So like there's no social security. I don't know if it's bar SSN, I forget what it is, or co-bar SSN, but like look through a couple of your personas and see if the SSN is not accessible. Like, why do you need social security number on your pipeline view? And if you tell me it's for loan duplication, I might believe you, but that's not everybody. And I don't even believe you. There's other ways to go do that. Yeah, SSN, that's a huge problem, Katie. Like, truthfully, it's, like the things I mentioned before, you don't know who's looking at that. And so be careful. Candace answered my question for things that are keeping Candace straight. OneNote help desk software, Notepad++. Totally cool. Yeah, OneNote. Social security. Yeah, Social Security isn't in the not accessible, which means it is accessible. And if you've got create pipeline views checked, bada bing, you got a problem possibly. Just be careful. All right. So that's my shtick on persona-based pipeline views and versus personal. I want to flip the conversation over to dashboards. So quick show of hands, who's actively using dashboards across your production? Not just sales and not just operations, but production, sales, operations, post-closing. Awesome. Luba, Kirsten, Chris, curious, Jolene, curious for the groups that are using it. On average, how many snapshots per dashboard do you have? Are you just sticking with the 5? You going with the 6? You going with 2? What are you guys doing? Chris does 6 on average. Angie does 4. And Jolene says we max them out for 9 for most personas. 4. Candace says anywhere 4 to 6, depending on what they need, but some are at 9. So for those that are higher than 6, because when you look at dashboards, you have to make this jump. And in dashboards, when you go over into your dashboard here, there's no such thing as 7. I don't know why, but you go right from 6 to 9. So I'm curious, for those that are doing more than 6, is it habit then that they know that they only have like a couple of columns? Are they trend lines? Like, what are you using in your 9? Are they just mini pipeline views? For those that don't use dashboards, a dashboard is just a way to drive up multiple snapshots. Snapshots can be different kinds of things. If you've never used dashboards, you're truly missing out, because when you come in and you want to create a new snapshot, you have the ability to do bar charts, trends, loan tables, and user tables. So loan tables are like your pipeline view, just plain and simple. User table is great for load balancing. A trend chart is great for like what you see over here, like duration times and production trends, or those kinds of things. And then the last one is your bar chart, which is basically what you see here. It just kind of displays things in a visualizer. So Chris says they pop out a lot of times, and that's what I would expect to hear, because in here, again, if you get into a snapshot, you can go in and you can hit this plus and you can have as many as you want. So when you do that, Chris, and assuming anybody else is doing this, how do you work with your teams to make sure that the important fields are here? Because again, depending on what you have, maybe you have 7 or 8, versus on a pipeline view, you can obviously get across, depending on what you have, you can get across a lot more, right? Luba's got the right feedback that I typically hear, which is some companies, this happened to me recently with a non-retail client, where I'm like, listen, they oscillate between 2 to 4 different pipeline views. I'm like, why don't we just throw it on a dashboard so you can keep your eye on everything? And then when you're in the dashboard, hopefully everybody knows this, you can just hit refresh all, just right mouse click, or you can do Control A on your keyboard and you can just hit it with a refresh, because that's the only way dashboards get refreshed. It's live data the moment you refresh. After that, it's stale. It does not automatically refresh. So Luba says exactly a way to see all they need to do in one shot. So what I'd encourage you to do, if you're not using dashboards, is to start with somebody in your company with a workflow, persona-based pipeline views, where you see like this. And you're like, well, how do you know which one to go to? And they're like, oh, I go to this one first, then I go to this one, then I go to this one, then I go back. But sometimes I go to that one. Like, this is a regular conversation with some folks. So when I hear that in real life, I immediately think of dashboards. Kirsten adds, our processing team had the biggest single pipeline view that we were able to break. Oh, that's interesting. So you took one pipeline view that stretched out well beyond the right, and you broke that into multiple dashboards, right, Kirsten? Is that what I'm hearing? That's an interesting concept. Okay. What was the one thing that tied them all together? Was it loan number? Or what was it that was the keystone between all of them? Or was it milestone? I'm just curious what you found to tie all the different snapshots into the one dashboard. It is for files assigned to themselves. So it's user-based. Okay. So what happens is they each have their own. And then what? Everybody sees everybody else's? Is that what you mean? Or do you mean something different? Let me know. So when you go in, just everybody understands, I want to talk about this because this little dropdown gets confused always. When you are looking at your snapshots, remember these individual tiles are called snapshots. The big thing is called dashboard. Everybody can access each other's dashboards for vacation coverage. Love it, Kristen. Love it. This right here is what that dropdown represents. This display loans by. It's not anything else, nothing else, not the filter, not the folders, not the fields. It's this. So the reason why I point this out is because if your snapshot is involving loans in process, use the date field for submitted or sent to processing. If it involves applications, use the application date, 3142 for now. If it involves closings, make sure you use the closing date. That's this drop down right here, Craig. So what we're talking about is this. So you see everyone has this tag right here. So if I change that to current month, what that's talking about is the current month of the file started date. That's what it goes by default, but you can choose anything you want in your reporting database. That's obviously date specific if that's the way your snapshot is set up. So definitely understand that because I see that misunderstood quite a lot. Also remember, in dashboards, today is not a thing. If you're looking to include for things happening today in your filter, you've basically got to create a custom field that's today -1 so that in the dashboard filter, it picks the file up. In English, if you're looking for files sent to underwriting and you wanted to show this week, like current week, if it was sent to underwriting today, it's not going to hit there. You've got to create a custom field that's basically today -1. And so that when you go to your filter, you can actually put in your cx.yesterday, I call it cx.yesterday, cx.yesterday field as equal to include for, here, this filter. I'll use cx.yesterday. And when I do that, it tells me the current week or the last. That works every day, every time. It's not, don't think about it today. Remember, they went in the file today and they submitted it today. So yes, it would have happened today, Luba. So it includes for that scenario. Kirsten took my idea and she did that as well. It's all my idea, Kirsten. I'm the first. No, I'm kidding. I don't know whose idea that was. It's only been a couple of years, so you probably figured that out way before me. All right, last thing before we run out of 30 minutes, remember, it's all about the user group. This is a resource. Dashboard is a resource. Make sure you remember that it's all about the user group. And in user groups, under resources, they're not called dashboards and snapshots because that would be too easy. In user groups, they are called dashboard templates and dashboard view templates. Not what you think. Look, you can see it really easily. If you go in yours, these are snapshots. So your public dashboard templates are your snapshots, and your public, where the hell did that go? Over your dashboard view are your actual dashboards. And you know that because there's a lot less dashboards than there are snapshots. So don't get lost in here. And make sure that, again, as Kirsten said, if you want different people to have access to different dashboards, they also need to have access to the snapshots that go into the dashboards. Jody says, when today is yesterday reminds me of Spaceballs. When just now? When will we be there soon? I love it. It's great stuff. I hope this has been helpful. I really want to thank everybody for always coming to these. Again, we meet every Tuesday from 4 to 4:30. Does anyone have any questions, concerns, thoughts? Make sure you check out all the replay I have for all the 24.1 walkthrough. There's also 23.3.0.5 walkthrough that happened last week. And there's also a 24.1 TPO Connect walkthrough. That's dropping in UAT soon, I think in the next week and a half. So keep your eyes open. I'll keep mine open. Keep living the life as a community. You guys are totally awesome. Thanks very much. Have a great rest of your day. You're welcome to stay for questions if you have them. Otherwise, get back to work, would you please? Thanks, Katie. Thanks, Kristen. Thanks, Candace. Good luck documenting everything. Adios, Chris. See you, Luba, Craig, everybody else. Awesome. Thanks. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.